going to go over a Frederick Police Department report regarding the case of Chris Watts, and I'm also going to review some letters that he wrote with a few different details. Within that police report, there's actually a few things that I'm going to go over, including the canine, the shovel, which was found in the back of the truck, and what happened with that, and also some other odds and ends that I came across. Now I'm going to start off with this letter that he wrote actually for his family, for his in-laws, for Shannon's family. And this was what he wanted to get out there for everyone to hear. And so he starts off and he addresses it, Dear Frank, Sandy, and Frankie, I'm sorry for the pain and utter anguish that I've caused your family. This is a travesty that I never thought could or would occur. Shannon, Bella, Celeste, and Nico are 4 beautiful souls that will live on forever in heaven and in our hearts. I know you must hate me for what I've done, and honestly, I would be surprised if you didn't. This is a moment in my life that I will never be able to undo, and it rips me apart every single day. I see their beautiful faces, their beautiful smiles everywhere I look. When I read to them at night, I can feel them snuggled up next to me like we were at home. I want you to know that I still consider you my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, and my brother-in-law, and that I love you all yesterday, today, and forever. I pray that one day you can have forgiveness for me, but most of all, I pray you can have compassion on my family. They are hurting so bad from all of this, and I know they would love to reconcile if that is something you would allow to happen. I pray every day that both families can meet at the gravesite, hold hands, pray, and talk about great times. Share about birthdays and visits and funny FaceTime conversations. I know this prayer hasn't been answered yet, but I know God is working this request of mine in your hearts. Forgiveness is the start of healing, and I pray you can start this process with my family. Love, Chris. Okay, wow, so that's a lot, and I guess that's what he wants. And he does have a lot of compassion for his own family, and I don't know if this is something that in any case of crime like such as this one, how do families mend? How can the two sides, for example, the ones that are the victims and then the parents of the one that committed the crime, how can those two families come together in a way? This is very difficult, so I don't know why he is asking for this, and he's saying that he knows that it hasn't happened yet, but that's what he wants. But then again, what he wants doesn't matter. It's the victims that have to live with the hurt, and they have to cope in the way that they can and move forward the best that they can. So that's a big question, but I don't know. So anyway, so let me know what you guys think about that letter. And so I'm going to go on and read another letter, and this one here is also interesting, so I'm going to read this one as well. And he starts off saying, I've never had any trouble with anyone here, but the institution is being cautious. The security director doesn't want anyone to see all the media coverage and then come after me. I'm in my cell over 23 hours a day, but I know God is here with me. He has given me a lot of extra time alone with Him over the past month. Also, He has opened my eyes to a few things I was holding on to in my heart that I didn't acknowledge to myself. In answer to your question, no, I've never had a psychological exam. If I were to have seen a doctor during my case, then anything I said could have been subpoenaed by the court or DA, And the Asperger's symptoms do make a lot of sense, and I can match up a bunch of instances in my life that correspond with it too. It would have been much easier to diagnose me with it when I was 11 years old instead of 33 years old. Next time I talk to the psychological department, I will ask what it takes to get an evaluation. The media is horrible with what they put out there sometimes. Is my diet really that exciting? The sale of my house was pushed back to July before the investigators came to see me. I have a civil case against me, wrongful death lawsuit, and in the matter of probate court. The attorneys thought the house could be sold at a profit, and the money would go to the wrongful death suit and help Shannon's family. After evaluating with the realtor, she told Shannon's parents that the house wouldn't sell for more than what was owed. So then, Chase Bank pushed the auction to July 17th. It had nothing to do with the investigators, just another example of the truth versus media truths. I received notification that you are on my visitors list now. I look forward to meeting you for the first time face to face. From what I am told, only items you can bring into the visiting room are quarters, $20 worth, for the vending machines. I will be allowed to get a radio and TV soon, but CDs I believe are contraband because they can be made into a weapon. I like your question, what does it mean to die out to Christ daily? To me, that means to look at his character and model yourself as he was when he walked the earth. Jesus is the stone which the builders rejected, but that same stone has become the chief cornerstone. Whoever shall fall upon that stone shall be broken, but whoever on it shall fall, it shall grind him to powder. Luke 20:17-18, paraphrased. To die to Christ daily is to fall upon the stone daily. What breaks when your fall is your allegiance to self, lust, and pride. I look at things I do daily and always ask, should I think about that? Or should I be reading something like this? We are not all perfect, but we can all make a diligent effort to do better every day. I know a lot of people, especially inmates, will be able to relate to my testimony and be able to see the trust, the hope, the peace, and the love in Christ. I hope people on the outside can be able to relate and be able to look at their own lives and receive the Lord into their hearts. I believe if roles were reversed, and I had read a book about this happening to someone, I would have come to the Lord. It would have hit home and shown me what was important in life. My grandmother is in a nursing home. She's 93 years old and has dementia. I know it's hard for my dad some days to see her, even though she doesn't recognize him. He had me on a speakerphone the other day, and she could hear my voice. I said hi to her, and my dad said she smiled really big. That made my day. I hope you're doing well, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. God bless, Chris. Okay, so let me know what you think about that. I'm going to jump forward now. And as I was saying, that I came across a few things in the discovery, so I'm going to read those. And like I said, it's going to be covering some different odds and ends regarding the canines and some other things.
You are still in this situation where you're not even completely out of it, and I'm getting in it, and that's not fair for them. And that was kind of the policy that I had with him.
Nikki even asked me, like, have you done this before? Have you go straight away? I'm like, I've never even thought about it. It's like, what's different? It's like, I guess it's just you that's different, because I just never actually, like, I've seen girls smile at me before, never done anything about it. With her, it was just like, it's like she had a leash on me and she tugged me away.
Now, I wanted to get to this part here And actually, I hadn't heard about this before, okay, but this is about the shovel, Chris Watts' shovel that he had used. And I came across this one letter here, this report from Officer Bakes, and they are talking about what happened and that shovel had been in his work truck, okay? And let me know if you already heard about this, but I'm going to read this out now. So it says, on Monday evening, myself, Officer James, and Officer Coonrod were at the Watts residence, speaking with Chris Watts about where his family may be. Officer James was speaking with Chris on the front driveway of the residence when I walked over to Chris's work truck, which was parked directly in front of the driveway to his residence facing east. I began looking into the bed of the truck over the tailgate and observed several silver toolboxes, some sort of pump with a large hose, and a few other miscellaneous tools. I walked to the passenger side of the truck while still looking into the bed of the truck and observed a shovel. The shovel was a spade shovel with a red handle and had a black rubber grip on the end of the handle. I noticed there was fresh dirt on the spade of the shovel. I noticed the shovel was facing down with the bowl of the spade facing towards the tailgate into the bed on the driver's side and angled upwards to the passenger's side with the end of the handle being close to level with the top of the bed of the truck. The shovel was stored in between the cab of the truck and a silver toolbox or gas tank in the bed of the truck. So this officer is recalling what he had seen. And so the strange part is that he's questioning where this shovel is. And I'm not sure if there was further investigation into this. I'll have to look further into it, but let me know if you guys heard about this. Okay, so I'm going to keep reading. Then it says, when the vehicle was towed from the residence on Wednesday night, I was inside the residence and not present outside while it was being towed. I had heard from someone that I cannot recall who that was, that the shovel may no longer have been in the bed of the truck. While executing the search warrant at the residence, I looked in the garage, basement, and outside of the residence in an attempt to locate any shovels, but did not locate any. And then he says nothing further. And again, it's Sergeant Bakes, okay? So now, I don't know if you guys already heard about this, but I'm thinking maybe they had already maybe tagged it. Maybe they had put it into evidence already. I haven't seen it listed. I was going through the other articles that were found and it wasn't there. So maybe it was done separately. But he is saying here in this report, and this was from August the 20th, the date of this report. So he's saying that he can't find it and doesn't know where it is. Okay, so I'm going to just leave that for now. Let me know if you guys know anything about it. And I'm going to continue on.
Honestly, I never even thought about the story until you guys mentioned it.
Yeah. Okay.
I wondered.
I never even thought about it until you guys mentioned it.
And what did you think about it once it got mentioned?
It's just like I just went with it. I didn't I knew my dad was out there. I knew it was I knew they would probably believe it because, my mom and my sister just never really liked Shanann.
What was she doing?
She wasn't fighting.
Why do you think she wasn't fighting?
Maybe she was praying. Maybe she was just. I read the Bible. It said, where the scripture says, "Don't forgive these people, for they do not know what they do."
So I'm going to read a few different things, and this is actually a report from the Frederick Police Department. And this is information which was noted and investigated by Officer James and there's actually quite a bit of information here. So I'm going to start off here at the part on August 13th of 2018 at approximately 21:12 hours, and this would be 9 p.m. in the evening, 9:12 in the evening. It goes on to say, I called Chris to see if he had heard anything. He advised he had not, but provided me with the phone number to a few of her friends, and that would be Shannon's friends. They included the following: Addie Maloney, Sam Paisley, Christina Meacham, Jeremy Lindstrom, and Cindy Darosette. Chris advised me she was in North Carolina for 5 weeks. Then he went for a 6th week. He said there was a disconnect and they fell out of love with each other. He said when they were together the last week, it just wasn't the same. Chris felt they weren't in love anymore. Chris said he could never be himself or be who he was before he met her. Chris said they had the disconnect once he saw her again and that it wasn't there anymore. Chris said it was totally possible she, Shannon, was seeing someone else. When asked if he was seeing someone else, he slightly lowered his voice and said, "Nah, I have not done that." So that's kind of interesting. We know now that he was the one that was cheating, and he was casting or putting her in question as to her morals or what she was doing when he was the one, in fact, that had the affair. So again, he answered, "Nah, I have not done that." Now I'm just jumping forward. There's another interesting report which I was kind of curious about, the truck, Chris's truck and Shannon's Lexus. So within this report here, it says that on Wednesday, August the 15th, at approximately 8:50 p.m. in the evening, as requested by Sergeant Biggs, I secured the doors, the rear hatch, the fuel door and hood of a white and color Lexus SUV bearing Colorado license plate 528 ZVJ, and the vehicle was a vehicle of interest in this active investigation, and I was further requested to have the vehicle towed and impounded by Brad's Towing in their secured inside vehicle storage. I secured the vehicle using evidence tape, which I signed and dated, and completed a Frederick Police Department vehicle impound recovery report. Once Brad's Towing arrived, I had to unseal the driver's door so the vehicle could be loaded onto the flatbed tow truck. The vehicle was then loaded onto the tow truck, and I followed it to the secured storage lot, where I once again secured the vehicle. Once it had been brought into the storage building, I realized that there may be another vehicle of interest from this case being transported to the storage lot, and I once again unsealed the Lexus so the tow operator could secure the vehicle further inside, making room for the other vehicle. The Lexus was then sealed with evidence tape, and the tape was signed and dated. I remained on scene at the storage lot until the building was locked and secured. Body-worn camera footage of the vehicle being secured at the towing storage location is available on evidence.com. Now there's another little thing here regarding Chris. So within this report, it says here that at approximately 22:05 hours, I took photos of Chris while he was in the interview room at the Frederick Police Department. The photos I took were of him with his shirt off, his hands, head, neck, and face. There was a red mark on the left side of his neck that he identified as being a mosquito bite. There was also a red mark on the front of his neck. I did not observe any other obvious signs of injury to Chris's body. Now that mark, some people have noticed that in the photo, and it's very light, but you can see that, but it doesn't look like it's a scratch. It looks like, I don't know, maybe a mosquito bite or some kind of irritation, but it's very small. Okay, there's another interesting report here And this one is actually from the Tuesday. So this is August the 14th. And it was approximately 11:45 hours in the state of Colorado, county of Weld, town of Frederick. I, Officer Kate Lines, responded to the police department and met with a search and rescue team and their canines for search efforts regarding the disappearance of Shannon Watts and her 2 children. After being briefed on the situation, I, along with Officer Perez, Deputy Tatch, Boulder County Sheriff, Jane and Jeff, search and rescue dogs of the United States, responded to the home of the missing individuals. Upon arrival, I contacted Chris Watts and explained to him that the Frederick Police Department brought in some extra resources, search dogs, to help in locating his family. With his permission, he allowed a full search of his home. Prior to the beginning of the search, Deputy Tatch explained, and this is TKACH, explained what would be needed for the dogs to have a successful search. She explained the need to collect scent articles. While speaking with Chris about appropriate items such as shoes and clothing, she stated the importance of the items not being touched by anyone else. Each time Deputy Tatch asked Chris about specific items, he mentioned that he had in some way touched them. Deputy Tatch was able to collect the scent from shoes. Upon entry to the home, I immediately noticed a strong odor of cleaning chemicals. The home appeared spotless, and the carpet had noticeable vacuum lines. As we walked to the kitchen, living room area, I observed that the television was on a sports show. While standing by the back slider door, Deputy Tatch inquired about the little girls. Now I hope I'm not saying that name incorrectly. So it says, the little girls' shoes on the back porch. Chris said that the girls wore them to a pool party and the shoes had been wet, so he put them out to dry. During conversation, Chris mentioned that he had made the girls' beds that morning and had done laundry. He said that he had a hard time sleeping, and he is used to one of his little girls throwing chicken nuggets at him, and the other one sitting in the high chair. Okay, so he's using this story again here, because he used that story on the news, and then he tells it again to the officer. So it's like he can't come up with another idea. That's all he can think of when he thinks of his children. All he can think about is chicken nuggets. Okay. And so it says now, Chris was asked about Shannon's car and if she drove it to the airport, and he said no. Nikki dropped her off. It's the white car out front. He was asked if he drives it, stating the white car is in the driveway. No. He was asked if his wife has a car, and he pointed to the garage and said yes. When asked if he drives it, he stated that he took the girls to a pool party in it on Saturday. Officer Perez commented to Chris that he can't imagine what he is going through. While speaking with Chris, he showed no emotion and did not seem to respond appropriately to the situation. Chris did not ask any questions or offer to help at any time. Chris's facial expressions rarely changed. However, when they did, he seemed to smile and smirk inappropriately, displaying a lack of empathy, specifically when speaking about his children. His voice remained low and even-toned. His nonverbal cues were very apparent. Chris had very erect and almost tense posture, and his arms crossed a majority of the time. Chris lacked eye contact and appeared to be nervous, looking around constantly. So I know some people say that it's hard to tell exactly, it could be that someone is innocent and they are nervous, looking around constantly because they're worried, but they are saying that the way he was acting did not match up. So for example, when talking about his girls, there was no emotion, and he wasn't asking any questions. He wasn't helping them out at all. Then it goes on to say, prior to beginning the search, Chris was asked to step outside, so there was no interference with the dogs. Deputy Perez remained with him, and the front door remained open, so that at any time he wanted to discontinue the search, he could do so, and the information could be easily relayed. I entered the home with Jane and her canine, who she stated is a cadaver dog. Okay, so that is kind of strange, because I thought that Jane's dog was a rescue dog. But it says here, in this report, it says specifically that he entered and Jane was a canine dog who stated it was a cadaver dog. Now, when I watched the video of the search, she says that it's more of a search and rescue dog. Okay, but anyways, we'll get to that afterwards. Then it says, as we moved through the home, Jane explained what type of scent the dog alerts to. Jane mentioned several times that the dog alerted to areas where there may have been some sort of trauma or struggle, such as an argument, explaining that scent from people pools and collects in areas. The dog did not locate any human remains. The search continued from the neighborhood clubhouse, west and then north, circling back to the home without success. Jane's dog was later taken to Chris's work truck, which was parked just east of his home. Jane stated that the dog detected but gave no hard command. However, the dog did not enter the vehicle, and the doors to the vehicle remained closed. So that is kind of interesting, because it's saying that the dog did detect, but why did they leave the doors closed? You would expect that the dog would have to actually, if they had opened the back door, then the dog could have gone in, and for sure, I'm guessing that the dog would have alerted for sure back there. Anyway, so that's kind of strange. Then, while in the home, a track dog was asked to enter, as there had been some indication from the cadaver dog that a struggle or argument may have ensued. Jeff Hibbert and his canine entered the home. Jeff stated that his dog showed interest in the unmade bed in the basement and an area just below the stairs, but did not do any final trained alerts. We exited the basement and went upstairs to the garage. No indicators were noted in the garage, and we exited the home. Now guys, this is one of the strangest parts. How could it be that there was no indication in the garage? Because supposedly they did come out through the garage, and you would think that there would be something. There would be something either on the approach to that garage door from the inside, or on the outside, actually within the garage, that a dog would have smelled something. Okay, but they're saying that no, there were no indicators in the garage. After completion of the canine searches, the canine team was thanked for their help and they left. I remained in the area to assist with the neighborhood canvass, going door to door handing out flyers and speaking with residents. Now again, a little bit further down in this report, it says that Christopher's work truck was parked just northeast in front of the house on the north side of the street facing west. One of the dogs was taken to the work truck, and Jane advised the dog showed interest in the truck. Jane stated the dog did not alert for any human remains inside the vehicle, but the dog caught the scent of one of the 3 missing parties. Command staff was advised. So here it's saying that they did show interest in the truck, but in the other part it said that they didn't open the door. So basically it was from the outside. Okay, so that's kind of odd, and we'll have to see about that. Chris said he was going to work early to see what's going on. He said if his head wasn't there, he would roll out. Chris said he didn't know what he wanted us to do. Now remember, this is at 9 p.m. in the evening, North Carolina time, and so the officer called him. So they would be talking about the next day, which would be the Tuesday. So Chris would have decided that he was going to actually go to work the next day, and he says if his head wasn't there, then he would roll out, he would leave. Anyway, so let's continue. He said it's hard to be in the house right now. Chris was advised to call us right away if he hears anything. So this would have been very early on, and at this point I'm guessing that the officers would have still been holding up hope that maybe she would have returned, something like that. Then it goes on to say, I first spoke to Sam Paisley. She advised she lives in Maryland and knows Shannon through work. The last time Sam spoke with her was July the 18th via text. Sam said most of her information was coming from Addie and Cindy, who she was texting with. Now this is not Cindy, not Chris's mom, Cindy Watts, but this is another Cindy. This is Cindy Darosset, and they are friends through the Thrive business. So that is one of Shannon's friends, and so they say that they were texting. And then Sam advised Chris didn't want the baby Shannon was currently pregnant with, and that he wanted a separation. So that was what Sam told the officer. Sam advised Chris went to a baseball game on Saturday with his buddies, and Shannon thought his expense for a meal, salmon and beer, was expensive because it was around $60. Now we've all heard about this bill that she had received a notification of when he spent the money, and she asked him about it and asked him to save the receipt so that they could write it off against the business, I suppose. Then Sam advised she thought Chris ate at the Rusty Bucket in Westminster around 8 p.m. and arrived 2 hours later. Sam advised Shannon was experiencing nausea with the pregnancy. Sam provided me the contact information of Cindy. Then I spoke to Jeremy. He advised Shannon has a very scheduled life. He advised the kids did take medication. Chris had brought the girls to his house on Sunday for a birthday party. Jeremy lives in Erie and sees them once every few months. When I called Jeremy, he was just leaving Chris's house with his wife. I then spoke with Cindy. She was in Arizona with Shannon. Cindy lives in Arizona. Her and Addie had dropped Nikki and Shannon off at the airport Sunday evening around 7 p.m. Cindy saw Nikki for the work event Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Cindy advised they work for Laval. Cindy advised Shannon told them that Chris was becoming distant and said they weren't compatible anymore. Cindy said Shannon was blindsided by this. Cindy said they were making plans to go away for the weekend. She mentioned that Chris recently deleted his Facebook account. Now this is the one where he deletes this, and when Shannon asks him about it in a text, he doesn't respond to her. But then I noticed that when his father asked him about it, Chris's father asked if Chris deleted it, and then Chris responds to the effect that he has freedom now, freedom from that Facebook. And he was quite happy about it. It was kind of a positive thing that he deleted his Facebook. But he must have spoken to his dad about it because his dad is the one that asked him about it. Anyways, so then it goes on. Chris used to post on Facebook how proud he was of Shannon and the kids. Cindy said Shannon was pregnant with a boy, but they had canceled the gender reveal party because the energy wasn't right. Now, when we read through the actual messages at what was going on. Supposedly, Chris wanted to postpone the gender reveal until the Monday, the August the 13th. And now that is the day of the tragedy. But for some reason, he told Shannon that he wanted to postpone it until then. Okay, so that's kind of interesting that he would choose that day. So it goes on and it says, Cindy said Chris has recently started to get more fit, and Cindy advised Shannon was a very routine-oriented person and described her as a helicopter mom. Cindy described Chris as a passive and calm person. Cindy said Shannon has lupus. She also said Shannon was very distraught about Chris and that he was getting annoyed with her recently. Cindy advised she has known Shannon for a couple of years and saw them in April or May in New Orleans for work. Now it goes on to say, I then spoke with Christina. Christina lives in Hawaii and described herself and Shannon as best friends and have known each other for 14 years. She advised they talk every day. The last time they spoke was Friday, and Christina didn't bother her the other days because she was on her trip. Christina advised Chris had been cold towards Shannon recently. While in North Carolina, Shannon called Christina and said he wouldn't touch or kiss her anymore. Shannon told her that Chris didn't want the baby she was pregnant with and that he was scared. He was happy with having only 2 girls. So here we see and we know that Shannon was reaching out pretty much to all of her friends. She was desperate. She was trying to get someone to help her out with the issue, which is that Chris wasn't happy, but he wasn't willing to help her out. He wasn't willing to tell her why it was that things weren't working out. But she was begging him just to let her know what was wrong. Why is it that they weren't compatible? Because the way that she was expressing herself, she was doing everything she could to communicate, but that he was very quiet and she wasn't able to get anywhere with him as far as mending the relationship. He just wouldn't open up. So it goes on to say Shannon was in North Carolina without Chris for 5 weeks. Then Chris went there the last week. Now some people have mentioned that is it possible that because of this trip, did that contribute to the breakdown because of being separated? For example, if you're married and then you are away from each other for a long period of time, is that going to contribute to a breakdown of a marriage? Or is it that someone else came into the picture? Or, I mean, it's not really easy to pinpoint. Let me know what you think about that. But anyways, I'm going to go on. So it says, Christina said on Friday, Shannon told her she was having a baby boy and was super excited. Shannon said Chris was willing to go into therapy with her, and they had planned to go to Aspen. And this is what he promised her. He said that he was going to go, just the 2 of them. And then what happened was, as that morning, on August 13th, that is when he canceled that trip to Aspen. So right away, I believe it was it 9 in the morning, around about there, very early. That's where his mind was, and he right away called up and canceled that trip. Then Christina lived with Chris and Shannon last year for 2 months when Shannon had surgery to help take care of the kids. Christina said Shannon was in charge of the household and they were very loving and caring towards each other. Christina said Shannon told her that Chris was tired of not being able to hang a picture on the wall without her input, and he wanted a say. Christina said their marriage began to change when Shannon was in North Carolina. Chris began to get aggravated with the kids around him. She said Chris used to put Shannon and the kids first. Chris began to not touch or ask Shannon about the baby. Christina said when they were separated for 5 weeks, Chris came back to Shannon a different man. Christina said Shannon had a routine and was a bit OCD. She advised everything was in order, even what she wore as clothes. Christina described Shannon as very protective of the kids. Christina did believe they struggled a bit financially. Shannon wanted the marriage to work out, but she couldn't fight for him without his help. So that is what was going on. We can see that in the text messages, and I did read those out on a previous video. And it's just constant with Shannon reaching out to him and asking what's wrong. You know, she wants him to open up, but he is not willing to tell her what the problem is at that point. So it goes on here to say, Christina described the girls as being light sleepers because of where the girls slept. Above the garage of the house, they wouldn't open the garage in the morning. Christina said Chris would usually go out the front door. So she would know this because she was staying with them at the house for that period of time, and she would have seen the routine. She said if there was an argument when she got home, the girls would have woke up. Now I'm not sure exactly where she would have slept in the house when she was staying over. I'm guessing that she would have stayed in the basement, possibly, I'm not sure. It says Christina used an example of when she lived with them. They had to leave early one morning, so they had parked the car outside the garage the night before. Shannon was worried just turning on the car would wake the kids. Christina advised Shannon would not leave the house without anything. Christina advised it would be hard to imagine Chris hurting the girls because he was very attentive and caring. Chris getting aggravated with the kids, as well as the marriage, all began at the same time. Christina also mentioned Chris had deleted his Facebook page. Finally, Christina described Shannon as a person who plans everything and says she wouldn't have just left like that. I then spoke with Addie via phone. Okay, so that actually reminds me of something, because often in these cases, and I don't know if you guys have seen it, you probably have, that usually when, let's say, a wife disappears, then oftentimes the husband or whoever the spouse is that is left behind will then cast shade, on the person's character. They will make it look like that woman decided to leave her children, that woman or person maybe is abusing substances, maybe they're an alcoholic, and maybe they'll say that they're a cheater, and they will then make that person look bad to make themselves, they are there left having to defend themselves, and they will make the other person look bad so that they'll come out looking good. And then, as we see here, Shannon's friends were there to stand up for her and say that she wouldn't do that, but this case, like other cases, it can be different, where the person is never found, and then the spouse will continue on. They'll be free, and they will continue on with kind of a campaign, I guess you can say, to make that person's character look bad, that they left without any care for their family, and that who knows where they are. Maybe they're cheating, maybe they found someone else, but luckily that didn't happen in this case. And so I'm just going to continue on. There's more here. She was flying back to Maryland from Arizona. Addie advised things were not good between Chris and Shannon. Chris didn't want the baby, and they had canceled the gender reveal party. 2 weeks ago, Shannon was texting with Addie, telling her this information. When Addie saw Shannon Sunday night, Shannon looked sad. Shannon said Chris went to the Rockies game with a group of guys. Shannon had been in contact with the babysitter who was watching the girls while he was out. Chris told her he went and got food after and ate salmon and drank beer. He told Shannon it was $62, and she thought it was expensive just for him. Addie said while in North Carolina, Chris's mom had exposed their daughter to tree nut allergy, nuts and ice cream, and Shannon and his parents had a falling out over it. Addie said his parents did not go to Cece's birthday party they had for her in North Carolina because of the falling out. Addie said Chris and his father were close, and Shannon had felt like Chris thought she had caused problems with his dad. Addie said Chris had also deleted his Facebook account last Thursday, which is strange because social media is used regularly for her business. Chris told Shannon he needed a break from Facebook. Addie said Chris seemed to come around to the idea of another baby when he found out it was a boy because he wanted a boy. So the thing I wonder is, why is it that he decided just on that day to shut down his Facebook? Because that would have given Kessinger months to be watching his Facebook and Shannon's Facebook. But he didn't want Kessinger's friends, that is what we speculate, he didn't want her friends to look him up. But why didn't he shut it down earlier? Is it because he was afraid that Shannon would question him doing that and he had to wait? But anyways, that might not be too important, but let me know what you guys think about that. Then it goes on to say, when Addie found out they were having problems, it came as a huge shock to her. She advised Chris told Shannon they didn't communicate well anymore, but wouldn't really say what was wrong with their relationship. And that is what I noticed as well, that he wasn't willing to say exactly what the problem was. You know, we know that she wouldn't let him, let's say, put up a picture on the wall, but he didn't really want to open up, or maybe he didn't really have a complaint, because basically the reason was that he was having an affair, and it's just that his attention was elsewhere. That was his reason, pretty much, from what I can see. So then it continues on. Addie said Shannon was anxious to get home because Chris was coming around prior to her going to Arizona. Shannon was also looking forward to getting away with him for the weekend. Addie believed Nikki was going to watch the kids while they were gone, but wasn't sure. So that would be Nicole Atkinson. Then Addie said Shannon was the best mom she knows and wouldn't have left medicine, phone, or car seats. Addie said Shannon was the most organized person and planned everything. Addie described Chris as being a great dad. Addie said the only person in Colorado that knew of the marriage problems was Nikki. Most of Shannon's friends are through the business. Addie said Shannon would go on play dates and mentioned Amanda, who used to be the director at the school. A female by the name of Karen they work with was also in Arizona and lives in Colorado, but they didn't discuss Chris with Arizona. Addie also mentioned Chris told her a neighbor has a security camera that is pointed at their house. For a full account of my conversations with all the friends, please refer to the taser camera footage. It should be noted, I, along with Sergeant Biggs, Officer Goodman, and 2 Danico officers, looked through the house under construction in Shannon's neighborhood but did not locate them. Okay, so that's pretty much it for now, but the idea that came into my mind was that with this whole situation that was happening for those weeks, you know, Shannon was suffering through all of this stuff, but what she was probably seeing, because she didn't know that he was cheating on her, she asked him and he wouldn't admit to it, so she was seeing that Chris was basically siding with his family. So all she could do was to target or to think of his family as the problem, to think that his family were the ones that was changing him, that is why he was acting that way towards her. That's all she could think, was that her family didn't like her, and for that reason he was acting that way, that he was becoming cold because of his family. That's what she thought. Maybe that was what she was perceiving, and that made her maybe dislike or even act out more towards Chris's family that's maybe why she did that, and maybe because she was feeling the hate. She was being poisoned. She was pregnant, and that is a very stressful time. And so then, maybe she was extra touchy. That is normal for someone that is pregnant. And maybe she did overreact a little bit with the issues that were occurring. But she had the feeling that her husband was basically not, he was disengaged. He was becoming further and further away from her. And so she didn't know why. She saw that his family didn't really care for her. And maybe she felt like they were a group, that they were together, and that they were against her. But meanwhile, what I was thinking is that actually, it's not really so much his family. Maybe he was using that as an excuse to make her think that was fine with him, for her to think it's because of his family, because he didn't want her to know the real reason is that it was because he was cheating. He had another lady, another girl on the side, and he didn't want his wife to know about that. So he was just happy with, that was fine with him, for her to think that it was because of his family not liking her, because that way she wouldn't focus in on a cheating husband. And he should have really been honest with her, and put things straight with what was actually going on. When she was asking him, she was desperate to know why he was being detached, why he had changed so much. And the reason was because he had another woman, and they were intimate, and they were, sending each other love letters and cards and everything. And he didn't care about her anymore. And it was because of that woman, So it really kind of, I'm thinking, how would this story have been? Not just this story, but even, let's say, the other story with Amber Fry. If there's no mistress in the picture, how does that change the whole scenario? How would it look in that case? Would it just be a man who would just, do the same thing and then be left by himself? Or do they do this only when they have someone new? They wait until there's someone new, and does it matter who it is? Does it matter who that new lady is? Or, does it have to be a specific person? And then the two of them together end up doing this, have this outcome, But anyways, so let me know what you guys think about it. And I'm still curious about that shovel, because you can see it in the picture. You can see a picture of that shovel with the red handle, and then on top it has like a rubber top. It's black. But they say that then after he questions, he says that it wasn't there. Now it's there in the picture. So anyway, so I'm gonna have another look for that. Sorry, I couldn't find it. I did look through for it and did find a list of things that they did put on their report. But as of now, I haven't found it yet. Okay, so anyway, so that's it for today. And thank you so much for watching.